Is your bad guy not quite the big bad you had in mind? Or even worse, are they so evil that they're boring? Lucky for you, we're here to talk about your antagonist. And in this lesson, we're going to cover what an antagonist is, how to make them memorable, and how to avoid a super common pitfall that leaves most evildoers dead in the water. This video is a lesson from a full free mega course on our website. If you're ready to supercharge your storytelling, click the link in the description and start your journey today. This video is also part of a series, so if you haven't watched the previous videos, there are links down below. You're probably familiar with the term antagonist, but if you aren't, it's the opposite of the protagonist. The antagonist is the character that opposes your protag, or stands between the protag and their goal. You can think about them as the bad guy, the villain, or the nemesis. The point of the antag is to add conflict and tension to your story. If your protag's goal was a cakewalk, there wouldn't be much fun in watching your story. The antag helps make the goal difficult to achieve, which is good for your story. The more difficult the goal, the stronger the story. And the more powerful the antag, the more difficult the goal. This leads to our first point. The best antags seem impossible to defeat or overcome. When put next to our protag, we should place our bet on the antag every time. Compare amateur Rocky to heavyweight champion Apollo Creed, or cop John McClane to criminal mastermind Hans Gruber. That last example is great because it also highlights that the deck is often stacked in the antag's favor, as they normally have a lot more bodies than the protag. Generally, the more powerful an antag, the more memorable they'll be. There's a question a lot of writers ask, and that's, does my story need an antag? The answer is no, but it will need antagonistic forces. Antagonistic forces are all the powers acting against your protag. This can include people, institutions, animals, aliens, forces of nature, or even the protag themselves. Anything that stands between your protag and their goal can be considered an antagonistic force. That means an antag is a specific kind of antagonistic force. An example of a non-antag antagonistic force is the dangerous forest in 2022's Prey, including some mud that nearly kills Protag Naru. And your story needs at least one antagonistic force. Otherwise, the goal will be too easy and you won't have a story. On the flip side, you can have more than one antag. Usually there is one central antag and multiple sub-antags, like Gruber's henchmen in Die Hard. Sometimes there are multiple unrelated antags. And most times there are antags and antagonistic forces, because the more difficult the goal, the stronger the story. But choose quality over quantity. Sometimes the protag's flaw is enough to make the protag their own central antag, which we'll showcase in the extended version of this lesson. Finally, we need to talk about one of the most common pitfalls when it comes to antags, and it's all about the idea of a villain. A villain is a simple type of antag whose intention is evil and destruction. Why? Because they're evil. Villains are easy to write but almost always dampen your story. And the reason is actually something we already talked about in our last lesson about the want. In it, we explained that a protag with no want essentially has no motivation to pursue their goal. Well, a villain acting evil just because they're evil is the same thing. Just like a believable protag has a desire fueling their goal, a believable antag has a goal and a good reason for pursuing it. To avoid this pitfall, make sure your antag is complex enough to have a reason behind their actions. Ask yourself why they are standing between your protag and their goal. If the answer is either because they're evil or to stand between the protag and their goal, you've fallen into the villain trap. Give your antag an agenda to make sure they're believable, interesting, and memorable. If you have a favorite complex antag, comment who they are and why they're great down below. We could talk for days about the antag, but that covers the basics of what an antag is, how to write a story without one, and how to make them memorable by ensuring they are both powerful and motivated. But if you want to gain a deeper understanding of the antag, the extended version of this lesson covers how an antag contributes to your theme, a foolproof secret to giving your antag a compelling desire, and an in-depth breakdown of a story with a unique antag, 2016's coming-of-age dramedy, The Edge of 17. See you there. And that brings us to the end of this mini-course. Now that you understand how to craft an incredible protag, we're going to jump into some story theory that will split your story in two and help you double its power. We can't wait to see you there.